Real talk, real life, real growth.
This is Raw Reality with Tori Story and Fit with Lily.
Hello, Zara. Welcome to the show. We are so excited for today's conversation, and thank you for making the trip down here this morning.
Oh, same goes. You guys have done the same thing, so yeah.
I'm glad we could make it work. Well, we always start with the same question to ask every guest, and that is, what's one mindset shift you wish you knew earlier that would have changed everything?
Ooh, I love that question. I think for me, the recent mindset shift that I had, which I wish happened earlier, is just around like how we're all living our life with these glass ceilings above our heads that we don't even realize are there. Like, I didn't even realize that I was living with this limitation that I'd placed on myself that was totally invisible. That I was like, oh, well, of course that's never going to happen to me. So why even try? And then when you actually do try, you go, wow, there's so much that I'm able to unlock if I just like allow myself to drop the limitations and just see what happens. And so I didn't even realize that I was living with that glass ceiling until I shattered it. And now that it's shattered, I'm like, what other glass ceilings am I living with that I'm not even aware of? So that's been
It's
like
like that
really cool.
untapped potential.
Yes, exactly.
I love that.
That's a
Yeah.
cool journal prompt. Like, what limitation or like what ceiling have I put on myself that isn't actually true?
Exactly. And
And
we all live with them, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them are probably very much subconscious
Mm-hmm.
and not really knowing it's there until you kind of let it down somewhere or another.
Mm-hmm.
For those who don't know, can you just give us a little bit of who is Zara
Yes.
and why is she living in London?
Yeah. Good question. Who is Zara? Zara is like, I think I've always been like a confident, independent kid, and then that's kind of carried through my whole life. And then I guess I've had so many different lives that I've lived in the last, 10 to 15 years being an adult. I've been in the music industry and opened my own music studio. I've gone into the marketing industry. I mean, I've opened like 12 businesses throughout my life, like fashion e-commerce,
I'm
and like
obsessed.
I had a tutu rental business. Like, it's the most random stuff, like social media. I've done it all. And now I've really landed my feet in terms of career around the brand, marketing, social media space. And why am I in London? Because I kind of pursued this career for myself and then decided to just like throw my hat in the ring and see what happened. And I sent a silly little email to Stephen Bartlett and then managed to get a role. So I've shifted across to London about 3 months ago and working there as like a content social media manager for his personal brand, which is just wild to say.
Insane.
Yeah.
Life changes fast.
I'm
Yeah.
obsessed with the 12 businesses
Yeah.
and all different like genres.
Yes, I've tried it all.
So you did the music industry and now you've gone into marketing. When did that shift happen?
Yeah, so I built my studio over like 3 or 4 years. I opened it in 2020 and then I got to a place where I feel like I was in maintenance mode, and I really don't operate well in maintenance mode. I love being in the build of the business, and I got
You
to
sound like me.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I got to a place where I was like, okay, cool, I'm coasting, and I don't like that feeling. I want to be like challenging myself always. So I was like, what's the next challenge that I can throw myself? And for me, I was like, what am I loving about owning a business? I love the brand marketing aspect. I feel like I had a natural knack at it, but I hadn't really ever learnt it in a professional sense. I was totally self-taught. So I kind of had this moment where I was like, I want to learn from the best people. And you can't always do that as a founder. So I'm going to put myself back into the position of being the small fish in a big pond and get a job somewhere, and just see if this passion is something that I want to run with more longer term. Because I think I had found that music, although I love music and I still do, the thing I loved about that business was not the music aspect. It was actually like the brand, the business, the people, the culture, and like the teaching that I loved more than music itself. So I just wanted to see where I could take that.
That's a really good reflection. I think that's just the mindset of someone who constantly wants growth and to always become the best version of themselves. Well, in saying all of that, how could you describe the last year in one sentence?
Oh God. Okay, one sentence. I mean, can I have a paragraph? No.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
we
can,
can.
You can elaborate.
I would say totally unexpected and life-changing. Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
To put it simply.
So we shifted into social media
Mhm.
and we know that you've done a TikTok series, which was Think Like a Marketer,
Yeah, that's the one.
and was kind of the pop-off kind
Yeah.
of series that happened for you. What was that shift into social media like, and how did you, I guess, start posting on socials?
It's funny because I've had so many eras of posting on socials. Like back in the day, I had my music account that I would post covers on, and it was on private to begin with, and so I was too scared to like for anyone to see it. And then I opened it up. It was like this whole thing.
Yeah.
And then I shut down that account and started a new one. And so I've always had eras of like loving social media, even when I was like 16 and social media was popping off. Even MySpace. I had a MySpace.
Oh my
Wow,
God,
I
I
never had
remember
MySpace.
Really?
I wasn't allowed it.
Oh,
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I've always loved social media and pursued it in some degree. So it's funny that people think that like think like a marketer it was my pop off because it feels like it was that moment where
Yes,
people
yep.
started maybe noticing what I was talking about, but really I'd been like trying social media in so many different ways for like a decade.
Yeah.
So why do I love it? I just love it because it's like an expression for me and it's like a form of connection. And I think that it's also opened opportunities, which I've started to notice more recently. So I think like, why not?
A lot of our listeners are, I'm not going to say scared to post on socials, but a fear of judgment. And
Yeah.
you just mentioned that you had your account on private originally and then you
Yes.
transitioned to public. What kind of made you take that leap into going public? Because I was the
Mhm.
exact same when I started my socials. It was like on private and then I was like,
You're
okay,
so scared.
I need to take this leap. Like I even made a whole new Instagram so no one from school followed me and that was still on private.
Yeah.
And then you just have to take that leap. What was that moment for you like?
I think, well, I remember the moment that I like posted my first cover on public and I like pressed post and like threw my phone across the room and I was like, like don't look at me. Like, it's just like the fear of being perceived is such a huge thing. And especially when you're teenagers, I feel like you have such a fear around like how people see you. And I think really when you think about it, it comes from a lack of your own self identity and not knowing who you are and just like sitting in that because when you're so reliant on other people perceiving you and caring about what their judgments are, it means that you don't have, like, you're not rooted in your own sense of self. So you're relying on other people to share what that is with you. So I think it was for me, it was the moment where I started to be like, no, this is who I am. And no matter what other people think of me, I know that within myself. So I don't care what other people think. So yeah. And I think ultimately I know that, like, to reach my goals, I have to put myself in uncomfortable situations. And that was just one of them.
Did you ever get to a point throughout posting socials where you felt like you wanted to pull back or have those moments of like, oh, I should stop this? Or did once you started, you were like, we're on here?
I mean, totally. Like we
Yeah.
all have that moment still now where I have Instagram fear still to this day because I feel like Instagram is the place where all my friends and family and people from high school and people that I know follow me. And I feel like TikTok is my place where it's kind of built this audience that's like not as
Strangers,
familiar.
quote
Yeah,
unquote. Yeah.
exactly. So Instagram is like I still have like Instagram grid fear. And I still battle that all the time. But I think that it's like which those feelings can come up, but do you choose to let them win is where the decision lies. Not do they not exist. I think we're always going to have to just be upfront and honest about the fact that we're always going to have those fears, but it's like is that going to be what drives your decision or are you going to let them win or are you going to let them kind of sit to the side and bury them and actually do what you really want to do? That's where it is.
That's what makes the biggest difference between people who are successful and who aren't is literally just like acknowledging the fear,
Mhm.
but putting it to the side rather
Yeah.
than actually letting them stop them. Because I think a lot of people believe that anyone who is like, let's say, famous or extremely successful in their career, they don't have fear. They don't get scared of judgment, but they absolutely do. They just push it to the side and they still carry on with their life. And that is like the biggest turning point in obviously your career as well. Going to confidence and self-belief, it sounds like you have almost had that, not to say your whole life, because I'm sure there has been challenges, but what do you think was the foundation of having that self-belief behind you?
I think it's two things. It's like, yes, I was born with a bit of like probably too much confidence when I was really little, but like
Bit of pizzazz.
yeah, but I for sure I had the sass, I had the pizzazz.
Yeah.
So I was definitely born with it, and I think that's a hard thing for people to like hear because not everyone's that's like not always a choice that people have. So it's not something that people can really take and like actually action from. But I think the thing that I have worked hard to do is to like maintain that confidence and continue to build it throughout my life. And there's been so many times where I've, had an opportunity presented in front of me that I've bowed out because of, anxiety or being scared of what's going to come up. But to me, I'm always like, when I was a kid, my mum and my dad told me, you are independent, you are confident, you're loud, dramatic. Like, when you're a kid, you get given all these labels. And when you're a kid and you don't know yourself, those labels define who you are. And some people get told, you're not smart, you're not sporty, you're not whatever, or you are this or you're not this. But my labels, I'm really grateful that I got given those labels that, even if that's not necessarily always who I was like, no, but that's who I am. So therefore, I'm going to let that drive every decision. And so when I face hard things, I tell myself, probably subconsciously, like, what would a smart, confident, independent person do in this situation? And I let that define me. So I think the hard work has been in just like continuously challenging myself in those moments to like maintain those positive, affirming labels that I was given at a young age. And I think you can develop those for yourself. Like I also was told that I'm chaotic, but then I've flipped that label over time to be like, no, I'm strategic and I'm also someone that's a multitasker and that's a positive thing. So it's like
Enthusiastic.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
what labels do you have? I think that's a good journal prompt of like prompt of what labels were you given at a young age and what are productive and what are labels that you need to flip and redefine.
Are you a sibling? Like, do you have older brothers or sisters?
I'm the oldest of 5.
Wow.
There we go.
Which I think says a lot about me because I was
Yeah.
like the boss, I was the teacher, I was like, looking after the kids. And my parents had me when they were like teenagers. So I had this void of independence at a really young age of like, we've got kids to worry about, so you got to sort yourself out. So I think that really helped me build my confidence.
I swear there's something about if your parents are younger, like Taylor, our friend, her parents had her when they were quite young, and
Yeah.
she's extremely like driven, forward thinking, ambitious. And I'm like, it just makes sense. Like you just almost
Yeah.
have to be.
Yeah. So obviously you've had, I guess, that confidence. And I think we're very similar is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
But you kind of grow up with those labels and you can take them negative, you can turn them positive. Did you find, obviously having that confidence is a bonus and it is so nice to kind of grow up with that, I guess, support in that aspect. But was there ever a moment where you realized you still actually had to back yourself in what you're doing? And I think potentially with the career shift that you've just had, probably the biggest moment of like,
Yes.
I need to back myself here and what I'm good at.
Yeah, I mean, there's been so many big defining moments, but when I really think about like, I think it's like hard to say to someone like, just back yourself, move to London. Like that is a wild thing
Huge.
to suggest. Like that's crazy. But like really what's compounded and led up to that for me has been like the micro moments that I've backed myself that have ultimately built my confidence to be able to take those big leaps. So it's like things like, being in a team meeting with 20 people and having a question that's unanswered in your head and they say at the end, does anyone have any questions? And your natural instinct is to be like, oh, grab them afterwards and ask that question privately because I don't want to say it in front of everyone. And in those moments, I'll say to myself, like, just do it. Like, put your hand up, say the question. And so it's like those micro decisions that I think that always compound and lead up to being able to one day eventually say, okay, I've been presented this opportunity of like moving to London. Let's do it because I've got all this evidence that I've built through these tiny decisions that allows me to do that. So I think backing yourself, if you don't feel like you always do it, it's like starting to back yourself in the small day-to-day things first.
I freaking love that because at school, I swear you're always told through society, don't ask too many questions or like
Yeah.
if you put your hand up, you're not like perceived as cool. Like don't ask anything. You don't want to be smart at school, which is like wild because like
So
that's
wild.
everything and anything I want to be right now. But now it's almost like coming out of that. You have to teach yourself, ask the questions, put yourself forwards. Like I know that you have also mentioned before, it's like you almost tried too hard.
Yes.
And that's a good thing
Yeah.
because at school, again, we're taught don't try too hard. You have to act cool. Was that something you've always done, almost like being a goody two-shoes and
Yeah.
trying too hard? When did that kind of evolve for you?
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, when I was in primary school, I was like staying in at lunchtime and doing long division on the board because I thought it was fun.
Long division.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'm scared for my kids one day because I cannot help you.
No, neither.
Oh gosh, I don't even remember how to do that. But like, yes, that has been my defining personality trait since I was a young age. But I had a lot of shame in being a tryhard because, when you're a kid, especially in Australian culture, being a tryhard is like not cool. It's like, you're right. Like being in school, you want to be like the person that just doesn't care. And for some reason, that's like the most appealing thing about being a teenager. And it was actually my last workplace that said to me, and it was like a defining moment for me. They were like, you're a tryhard. And I was like, oh, ow, why would you say
Yeah,
that?
like-
And they're like, no, in the best
Okay,
way.
yeah.
You try hard. Like, why is that such a negative word?
And you like straight away, you just like, we were like, okay, are you saying that in a negative way?
Yeah.
Because that's rude.
Yeah. I'm like, how dare you? And then
Yeah.
no, like you are a tryhard and that's like the best thing about you. And so now I've like taken that title because I've really thought about it and I've been like, why is a tryhard a bad label to own. And I'm like, try hard. I want to try hard. So now I'm a try hard through and through.
It's almost going back to those labels, exactly like you said at
Yeah.
the start of this podcast. It's like, who do you want to be? And use those labels to your advantage. Like, just because something may have a negative connotation around it doesn't mean it is a negative. Turn it into a positive
Exactly.
every time. So what would you say to someone who doubts themselves constantly?
Ooh, I learned a really amazing framework from my business coach, Amy from Craft Coaching. She taught me this thing that has like changed my life, and it's around awareness, acceptance, action. So if you're someone that doubts yourself, you already have the awareness, knowing that that's something about you. So awareness, tick. The next one is acceptance. And I think acceptance is where we get a bit stuck because often we want to move straight into, okay, I know I doubt myself. So what's the action I can take, which is the last step? But really, acceptance looks like understanding why do you doubt yourself? Like, where is this rooted from? Is there a childhood thing that you need to unpack to understand why you are the way you are? And then acceptance also looks like first understanding, but then also coming to the place of like accepting that this is not something that was a decision that you made as a kid. Like if you have been told maybe that when you were a kid, you're not the smart kid, you're the sporty kid. So then all your life you just go, oh, okay, I'm not smart. I'm not smart. You come to a place where you understand that that's something that's in your past and then accept that this wasn't something that I chose and I have the power to change it. And then once you build that understanding, then you can move into action, which is doing things like putting yourself in the uncomfortable position and taking the risks and jumping in the deep end. But I think too many of us go, oh, we doubt ourselves. So what can I do? I can put myself out there. I think that's like a dangerous thing to do, to just jump from one thing to the other without actually digging deep and being like, but why do I doubt myself? And where is this stemming from?
I'm obsessed with that. And I think what I've just been pondering on since we started the episode is you have so much self-awareness. And I do think that comes with experience and age and maturity and all the things. But if any of you listening can take from this is like how almost every question you've answered is like you're always coming back to yourself first before making said decision or replying to someone or whatever it may be. You're very aware of yourself and making those decisions, which I think in this fast-paced society, we can all just be like, okay, next thing, next decision. And then it's like 20 minutes later, 2 days later, you're like, why did I not just like stop for 5 minutes and think about that decision first? Which I think you do extremely well.
Thank you. That's such a nice reflection.
Well, I've just been thinking about it because I'm like, wow, every time you've come back to yourself first, which is so important. And I think a lot of us skip out on that.
Totally. And it's so easy. It's like, it's going back to the basics of like what we're taught that we just for some reason ignore. Like start with you, go inside, like really think about what's going on for you internally before you start to like take action on things. And I think it's so easy for us to say those things but not actually do them in the moment. So yeah.
I agree. With the mindset that you have built over the years, has there ever been a moment where you haven't felt, I guess, qualified for a job or for a position you are doing? Because I always find to grow through your career and the opportunities presented to you, you almost have to, I'm going to say fake it till you make it. And then you make it and you're like, holy shit, I just did that. Was there a moment where you did feel unqualified and then you just learned and went with it?
Can I also add to that? Because you didn't study marketing. You did the life of school, which I had in your last episode, which I'm all here for, which I think would play a massive role in that as well because you're incredibly talented at what you do. But I guess it came with not having studied it. So I guess potentially that acting confident was a big part of this.
I mean, I'm so underqualified for everything I do. Like I have no qualifications. Like the audacity that I hold is just insane sometimes. But I think again I redefine these things for myself because yes, I'm not qualified, but what even is qualified? Like qualified.
I'm here for that. Put it
you
on a
know?
t-shirt.
Like, what even does that mean? Okay, you don't have a degree. But like I actually it's funny because yes, I'm not qualified and I do know that about myself, but I also have this like deep trust within myself of like, I know I don't have the piece of paper, but I know I can do it. And like my brain is qualified, even if my resume isn't. So I think that's what drives me to be able to take these opportunities and feel underqualified sometimes is just this deep sense of knowing, even like flying 24 hours to do this interview with Stephen Bartlett. And, you know, the whole time you can imagine I'm on a plane for 24 hours stressing about this situation.
No Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Overthinking. Spiraling.
Sitting with your
raw
thoughts.
dogging flying with my thoughts. Not good. But like I kept coming back to anytime I let it spiral a second, I would just come back to like, but I know I can do this. And I know that I'm going to just
You're going
kill
there
it.
for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I do feel underqualified, but I also feel incredibly qualified in other ways. And I think it's about like redefining what even is qualified. And if you have an attitude that you know that you can do it, then you're
Mm.
qualified.
Absolutely.
And you mentioned in a podcast recently that I can't remember the form that you had to fill out to
The
apply.
culture test.
The culture test,
Yes.
Oh,
which
I
you
can't wait to
basically
talk
were
about
first
this.
in.
Yes.
And there was like thousands of applicants, which a lot of those applicants probably had marketing degrees and whatever. But
Totally.
you've put in the work and you've had the 12 businesses. You've done everything to put yourself in the position that you now landed that job.
Mhm.
And something that I hype on, I didn't finish school and I'm so big on the school of life and kind of putting yourself into not the degree, the area that you want and figuring it out anyway.
Mhm.
And yes, some for people that is school and uni and all the things, but you've put yourself in that and literally landed like in a most insane job by backing yourself and just putting in the work elsewhere. I'm obsessed.
So kind of just like diving into overall like culture and things like that. I think it is such an important part of business, and we'll pivot a little bit at the moment to like a business section. So like you said, like qualifications don't actually really matter that much at the end of the day, but the way that you act, the way that you think, and the way that you fit in a team is absolutely everything, because you can have someone who is incredibly qualified that cannot work within the team. Can you give us a little bit of a rundown as to why you think culture is so important within a business?
Oh, I love that question. I think so many businesses don't have a culture, and like they don't define a culture, and that's actually honestly can often be their undoing and their reason for a high turnover and all of these kinds of things. I think a culture within a business is important because it sets an expectation across the entire company of how we behave and how we show up to decisions. And so what's interesting is like, yes, I was a strong culture fit for this business, but culture fit isn't like a tick box in terms of like, that means I'm a good person at my job. Like, you might not be a culture fit for this business, but that doesn't mean that you're not amazing at what you do. It's just this isn't the business for you. To me, it's like about I think of it like matchmaking, like culture. It's like, how do you behave in your work and how do you make decisions? Are you a fast-paced person? Are you someone that likes to take risks? Like there's some industries where fast-paced risk taking isn't appropriate. So like it's about who are you and how do you behave in your workplace, and is that a match for how this workplace expects you to show up? And so that's how I think about culture. It's like when you have a clearly defined culture across a business, it helps set an expectation and honestly speeds up decision making because, for example, at my workplace, they've really codified like their culture. For example, they have like the 1% mindset and sweat the small stuff and like, experimentation and failure. There's all these like almost catchphrases within our business that define how we decide and make decisions, that when we're facing a challenge, we automatically go to, okay, but what does our culture say the answer is? And what are the first principles within our business? And that helps us decide. And they can be different in every business, but I think it's important to have that within a business because it helps the team feel unified and driving towards the same goal at the same pace in the same way.
Wow. Was that the first basically like application for the job? Was the culture before anything else, or did that come a little bit later?
So I sent an email and I got an automated response. And the automated response was, hey, fill out this form. If you're a good fit, we'll get back to you. And so I filled out the form. And then obviously I scored well against their culture. So I was a match essentially. And then they got in touch with me that way. So you have to pass the culture test in their business.
Even
Yeah.
have a name in there. Were you nervous filling that out? Because did you almost feel like, okay, what do they need? And I almost want to fill it out for what they need. I know that that obviously isn't going to benefit anyone, but was that almost like a bit subconscious for you thinking?
No, because when I sent the email, I was like, lol, this is funny. I'm sending an email. Nothing's going to come of it. I'm in Australia. First of all, his inbox probably has thousands of emails. Second of all, I'm in Australia. Like, this is never going to happen. And so I just like, but I still sent the email. This is the crazy thing. Like, and I think that's a cool thing to recognize is that so many people would be like, lol, his inbox is full. Lol, I'm in Australia. It's never going to happen. Why bother? But I still, for some reason, sent the email, even though I had no expectations around it. So I sent the email. I got an automated response. I knew it was automated because it came back within a second and it was like a templated email with the culture test link. Again, I'm filling out this test thinking, I don't want to spend too much time on this. I don't know if it's actually going to do anything. It's an automated email. Obviously, everyone's receiving this. It's going to go nowhere. So I just was like, I'll just be honest and fill what I think is right. Blah, 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 blah. And then
And that's just when like it's meant to be.
right. Exactly right.
Yeah.
But I think that's like a cool thing to recognize is that so many people would just be like, it's never going to work, so why bother? And that was a moment for me where I was like, I literally sent an email and I got a job. That's crazy. you know?
It takes one simple action step
Yes.
to land your career, like your dream job, to
Mhm.
move to the other side of the world, to like literally do anything in your life. And I think that's what a lot of people forget is actually just taking that action,
Mhm.
taking that risk. We all want these things, but the biggest thing keeping us stuck is just planning, not taking that step and not doing
Yes.
the thing. We get so caught in having everything perfect. And for you, it was like, oh, lol, whatever, I'll just try and see how we go. And it worked.
Literally, it was like a joke. I was like, haha, this is funny. And then when he responded, I was like at my laptop and I was like, okay, now this has gone too
Don't
far.
panic.
I've flown too close to the sun. What's going on? Yeah.
Obviously, you've had multiple businesses, been a part of different companies. What would you say is like the biggest thing? Obviously, now being in this company with everything focused around culture, I guess, the differences between businesses that maybe didn't have the culture and now this one that does.
I think the biggest difference is when you walk into this business or any business that has a strong, defined culture, and whatever that culture looks like can be different for every business, like I said. But when you walk into a business that has a strong culture, you can feel it the moment you walk into the room and you can see it across the entire business. But when a business hasn't got a clearly defined culture, it's like everyone's kind of running in different directions. Everyone's kind of disagreeing about things. Everyone's trying to define the culture, but they're kind of, or there's like lots of subcultures. This is what I've experienced in previous workplaces where maybe in one team they operate in one way, but in another team they operate differently because there's all these different managers that are kind of trying to define different cultures throughout the entire business. And then when there's cross team collaboration and all those things, or you move teams, you can really feel the difference. And it feels like almost a different workplace in one business. That's super common in like really corporate businesses, especially. So I think like you can feel the consistency of how people operate when a culture is super defined.
For anyone listening who maybe has a business,
Mm.
how would you recommend building a culture that is with the same message and very united?
I think you've got to first start at um, what are the outcomes of what we want to achieve as a business, and then what are the things or the attributes that our team needs to be able to reach those outcomes. So if our outcomes are we want to grow X% in the next year, and we know that that's an ambitious goal, we need people on our team that are risk takers. We need people on our team that are speedy and prioritize speed over perfectionism. And like you can start to define the behaviors that your team will need based on what your goals are. Or if your goals are, we want to be it's a creative industry and we want to be really meticulous about the detail. We need people on our team that are like so obsessed with the tiny little things in their work. And so I think it stems back from like what your business is trying to achieve. If you're on a really fast growth trajectory, you're going to need people that are fast paced and can operate within uncertainty. You know that saying of like building the plane while you're flying it. Like you need people that are happy to kind of like build the processes while they're in the thick of the work. Whereas some people don't like operating like that. Some people like having the systems laid out before they enter a task, and so that suits a different business. So I think you just need to understand like what are we trying to do as a business and what are the behaviors that our team needs to in order to achieve that? And then how do we like catchphrase those things across the business? Like our workplace, they've got Slack channels called 1% Slack channels and things like that where if you ever have a 1% win, you post it in that Slack channel. It's like such a celebrated thing. So it's like, how do you then incentivize essentially all of the things that you're trying to build in terms of attributes within your team?
It is so important and it can make or break a business, and especially in terms of like how fast they are going to achieve success. Because for myself, we've like recently started like a business in the past, like I guess like 8 months, and we're coming down to now like how important it is around hiring. We've already had staff come in and out and we're like, okay, like what's working and what's not, and really get on top of it like ASAP to realize how important it is. Like you need good staff, and yes, they can be the most qualified, but it may not fit your culture.
Yeah, I'm
And
curious what's been your learnings like hiring in these early beginning stages. I want to hear.
I'm going to say speed hiring, don't do that.
Mhm.
Don't just hire based off speed and because you need someone ASAP.
You've grown very fast.
Very
so
fast.
It was like,
We literally had, well, I'm going to say no choice, but we did have a choice at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And then secondly as well, go through a bit more of a deep understanding of what their role is in within the job. So we're like kind of outline it briefly, and then we've gotten in further and they're like, okay, I'm not feeling as fulfilled, or I'm not doing this, or I would like this. And then we're kind of patching it up as we go rather than outlining everything in detail beforehand. And something that has almost helped us now is make the job, I don't know if this is going to be beneficial for everyone, but it has helped us, make the job sound a little bit more boring and a little bit harder than
Oh,
it
yeah.
actually is.
Yes.
So when they come in, they're like, oh, this isn't as bad. But
Yeah.
originally we had it the other way around. I think we made it sound a little bit too much more freedom and too fun. And they're coming in and like, oh, this isn't what I thought. So it's kind of like make it harder than it is. And then the expectations
Then
are
you
different.
you kind of like scrap out the people that are like, oh, that sounds too hard.
Exactly.
And
Which is what you want.
this is my favorite thing to do in job interviews is try to scare people off jobs.
Yeah.
And just like go through all the hard things about. I did a job interview this morning, and I said, let me just talk you through all of the challenges within this role and like hear what you have to say about them. Like this is hard, this is hard, this is hard. What's your response? Because then I think it's all about expectation setting, right? It's like if you set these expectations that this job is amazing and you're going to be blah 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 and you don't even have to work, you can clock off at 4 p.m. whatever, like you're automatically going to have people that enter the business that have that expectation, which doesn't then match reality. So if you can lower the expectations, you're always going to have a better result.
100%. And it was almost taking our ego out of it because I was like, no, I want our workplace to be really fun and I want it to be the best thing ever. I'm like, end of the day, that's not a business all the time. Yes, you're going to have some fun aspects, but also with the rate of success and growth, it is going to be challenging. And it are going to be some tasks you don't want to do and you have to do them. And you just have to filter through those people until you land the perfect person.
Totally. I love that.
On the other end of that, what advice would you give to someone applying for their dream job?
Okay, I would say try harder than anyone else. Like this is, when I applied for this role, the first part of it was just like throwing my hat in the ring, which was kind of simple to do. It was a simple email. It's like just shooting your shot and seeing what happens. But that doesn't get me the job. That gets me my foot in the door. What gets me the job is the fact that they were emailing me at 2, 3 in the morning every night because they're in London and I'm in Australia. And I set my phone on loud under my pillow so that every time I would get a response, I would wake up and I would pull my phone out and I would respond because I wanted to be speedy and responsive. I didn't want them to send me a message at night, me to reply during the day, them to reply at night. I'd take a whole week to have a conversation. Like I wanted to have a conversation that night. So if they were on, I was on. And I think that showed them. And they said in the end, they hired me based on my responsiveness and like the fact that I showed them that I was a hard worker. So I think going above and beyond to show them that you're willing to go extra lengths than anyone else is ultimately what's going to ideally get you the role. But then I think stepping back from that, if you've got a dream job, it's like you're going to fail sometimes and you're going to not get the job. There's been so many times where I've sent those emails. It's funny because you look at this one email I sent and being like, wow, it's as simple as that. It's like, no, I've probably sent 100 of those over time. So it's being willing to try again, find the next dream opportunity when that one doesn't work out and just be able to like put that to the side and try again. Because I think of it in like the realm of, the science of probability is that if you try 100 times, one of them surely is bound to pay off. So if you try once and it's the one that misses, you don't know if that second try was the one that actually hits.
Yep. What's my favorite thing? It's like talking about, because people get scared to try again after failing.
Yes.
And it's almost like when you ask a married person, they're like, oh no, I had like 3 ex-boyfriends and they never worked out. Now I found my dream partner. It's literally the same as a job. Like these 3 didn't work out, but this one did. And now it's my dream job. You just have to keep trying after every single failure.
Diving a little bit into the recent job you just landed. Firstly, congrats.
Thanks.
So awesome. I listened again to one of your other episodes and you mentioned when you did the culture fit, were amazing. And then they're like, right, we want to fly you over.
Mhm.
How quick was that?
Like 2-3 days or something.
Yeah.
Like,
And it's like that quick response also
yeah,
could have probably not happened if it was like a week dragged out conversation.
exactly.
You went over there, you obviously did some interviews, and I remember you saying you were kind of left to your own devices
Yeah.
of like kind of just sit here, work, fit in, figure it out. And what you said I loved about a lot of people probably would have sat there like twiddling their thumbs going, what do I do? And you were like, oh, I'm going to come up with a strategy plan. I'm going to do this, that, and the other. And then to go forward with that of like, say you had 4 hours free time and you're like, I've done all of this. And they're just going, who is this woman? And
Yeah.
how do we get her here right now? What was that like for you?
Yeah, I think it's funny because it's a test in and of itself, isn't it? When
Yeah.
when they kind of just leave you to their own devices. At this time, I was like, okay, what do I do? I was sitting there like, I feel a bit awkward. I'm sitting at this desk. Lucky I brought my laptop. Like, and they kind of just see what happens. Like, what is she going to do with this time? And ultimately, like, I think looking back on what I built that week, it was not right. Like, the strategy was not right. I had so much missing context to be able to actually do the work. I wasn't onboarded, all those things. But it wasn't the work that they were judging. It was the attitude that I was showing up with. And so, regardless, I think in those moments, what can paralyze people is wanting to get it right. But often the work itself and the perfect outcome is not what they're judging. It's judging how you show up and give it a go. And so I kind of knew that in the moment, having been a founder and knowing what I expect of my employees and knowing that, no one can ever get it right the first time they try when they're brand new in a business. You have to learn so much about how they operate. So I was like, I'm just going to put something forward. It's probably going to be shit. Can I swear? Shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's probably going to be like the worst thing they've ever seen, but that's not the point. And I actually remember someone saying to me afterwards, like, yeah, it wasn't a great strategy, but like,
But also, how are you meant to know for being there for
exactly.
half day, whatever it was?
Exactly. So I was like, but they were like, that's not the point though. Like the point was that you like went around the business and you asked questions and you were like, hey, how does your team operate? And okay, I can take that. And then when we looked at the strategy, it was clear that you'd like put a lot of thought into like trying to piece together some context to be able to do it and give it a go. And that's like showing more than anything.
Were you nervous sitting there and then going to it, like to a team? Like, were they just sitting in a corner and you just got up with your laptop and were like, hey, can I ask you a few questions?
Literally.
Is your heart pounding?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But again, it's one of those moments where it's like, do I let that win or do I just know that like I could sit here twiddling my thumbs or I could just put myself out there? And it's funny because even since I've started the role now, I think one of my biggest strengths is like my ability to connect with people and bring teams together and bring people together. And that was shown in my very first week. You have to also read the room though, because times people are with their headphones on and they're like got a deadline. And if you're going up like, hi,
I'm new here.
yeah, I'm just asking dumb questions and I don't know what I'm doing. And can you spend 10 minutes answering them? It's like not fair to be asking that of people. So it's like being strategic about, okay, we're at lunch. Maybe I can use this time to be like, so tell me about your role. And do you have 10 minutes this week if we like catch up and I just like understand a bit more about what you do and how this role could plug into it? And it's just like picking your moments carefully.
So I was about to say, like, very carefully, because you also don't want to be the person that not necessarily asks too many questions, because that's definitely what we want, but equally like annoying. You know what I mean? Disruptive. That's the right word to use. Yeah.
How long were you there for in this first initial process?
It was like 3.5 days, 4 days essentially.
And what did that entail?
So I did 2 sit-down interviews, but really like the being there in the office and in the environment was the test more than anything. And so, yeah, I showed up. Throughout the week, I was just like pottering away on my laptop, figuring things out, showing things to people. Then they would be like, I would show something to Stephen and he would be like, oh, maybe try it like this. And then I would go away and I would do it again. And then I'd be like, what about this? And he could see that even if the first go wasn't right, the next go was always better and the next go was better than that. And I think that that's what they care about more, is that when you have a feedback, you can actually apply it. You'd be amazed at how many people just cannot apply feedback.
Yeah.
So I was just doing that throughout the week. And then I think it was like on the 4th day, Stephen sat me down and was like, where do you want this to lead? What do you want from this? And I said, I would love a role. And he said, what role? And then I said, content manager. And he said, cool, let's do that. And I was like, okay.
Because that's what I was going to say. Did you apply for a specific role in your first email, or was it like, hey, I'm just pitching myself, basically?
I pitched myself, and I did pitch like marketing lead or something like that within my email. But really what I was trying to express to them within the pitch was like, this is my skill set.
Yeah.
Where can that fit within the business? And it's funny because they weren't advertising for my role. And I love their hiring strategy. I've never seen a business hire in this way, where I often think that, sometimes they are role first. They need to fill a gap within the team, but often they are person first. They're like, let's find the best people that are a match for our culture, and then let's find the role that suits them within the business.
Mold them into
Exactly.
that.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so
Which I
interesting.
love because I don't see that often.
Yeah. So you basically picked your role, your own role.
Kinda, yeah.
You sat there and you're like, oh, this, and this. And they're like, yeah, perfect. So your role specifically is more for Stephen himself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what does that look like?
Oh gosh, what does that
You're
look
like,
like?
everything.
Everything. It's so busy. Like what I love about it is that I'm able to work alongside someone that is operating at a level that I've never seen.
Imagine.
Like insane. Like every minute and hour of his day is optimized and scheduled and productive. And like, for example, one of the things that I've learnt, it's just such a small thing. Again, it's a glass ceiling that we have, is, if he's traveling all the time, going between airports and cars and, going between events and things, he will work no matter where he is. Like if he's crouched over in the corner of an airport, he'll have his laptop and he'll be productive. It's just so funny that it's taught me that like if you want to do something and to achieve something, like just make it happen. Because there's so many times that you'd be like, oh, sorry, I'm at the airport. I'll do this when I get home. It's just like you could do it now. You've got Wi-Fi and a laptop. Like, why do we hold ourselves back? And the way that he's just like unlocked his time because he can work from anywhere in any circumstance has been like so eye-opening to me. So like I'm now the kind of person that could probably sit on the gutter outside with a laptop and do a task if I needed to. It's
Well, it's the fact
yeah.
that you just said before you had an interview this morning, or like you interviewed
Yeah.
someone. I was like, wait, this morning? Like,
Yeah,
it's
this
like
morning.
before the podcast?
Yeah.
Before you drove
And
like 2
again-
hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, that just proves that you're learning so much while you are there and taking everything on. And I think that is the most important thing is actually like when you have a job like this, is learning so much and how to apply it to your life because you obviously like need to kind of fit into their fast-paced environment.
Mhm.
What obviously like that has been like a number one thing that has surprised you the most, but what also has kind of surprised you, I guess, the most about working with the team and Stephen himself?
I think I love, and this is not for everyone, so some people will not like this, but I love how they approach work and life because work-life balance is such a huge thing. And especially in Australia, what I've noticed, like the difference culturally between like London, America, and Australia, is that Australia has a really strong um, sense of work-life balance. Like life prioritization is so massive in Australia. But what I love about the UK, and this is maybe because I'm a bit of a workaholic, is that I love how work and life are kind of one thing. Like you can go to the gym halfway through the day if you need to. You could also like answer an email on a Saturday. Like it's kind of like operating like a founder, which is why I've always mostly for most of my career I've been a founder. And you guys would know being a founder means that sometimes your business requests something from you at 6 p.m. on a Sunday and you just kind of have to do it.
Yep,
All
all
the
the time.
Yep.
You
Yep,
just make
that's
it
life.
work.
Yeah, exactly. And I just love that they call it high trust, high responsibility. So it's like we trust that if you're not at your desk, you're not there for a good reason, but we also hold you accountable to the results. And so I love that they kind of treat all the employees like founders. It's like if you need to like move your day around to do other things, then that's cool. But like ultimately, as long as the work gets done when it needs to get done, that's what we care about. So I just love how for them, work and life are like one thing. And when I think about it, when you have like a 38-hour work week in Australia, it's almost like you lose 38 hours a week to work. But when you can overlap life and work it while you're eating dinner and things like that, it's like you don't lose any time to work because you're always living at the same time, which I love. That's like changed my perspective on work.
Especially when you love your job.
Exactly.
That is the biggest thing. And obviously, there's going to be a lot of listeners here who will feel like they're almost like stuck in their job and they don't want to do that because they don't enjoy it. And my favorite quote is you're not a tree, so just move. You literally can do whatever you want in your life and you can go and apply for that dream job and you can change careers or whatever it may be to feel so passionate. And you don't have to have this crazy, extravagant job just to enjoy it. You can enjoy the basic Monday things, but I think it's just that sense of fulfillment, wanting to always level up your career and always like wanting the best result for your team, whether you're a founder or not. It's always having that forward thinking pattern there.
Love
That was
quote.
Jackson and I on Sunday night. I was uploading our podcast, doing the things, and he was editing another podcast that we had in that week. And usually I'm like, Sunday night, we need to switch off and like, especially with the baby coming, like trying to get into those
Yes.
habits. But I was just like, we both love what we do. And we're both happy to be sitting at our computers right now. And that's fine. And that's not every Sunday, but if it is, that's also fine. And I
Mhm.
think I do agree in the sense of in Australia, it's like very much work-life balance, especially I would say in the Gold Coast, because it's like we have such an incredible lifestyle. But I feel like we have done that well. Obviously, working for ourselves, it is easier. But to be able to go to the gym at lunch and then come back, and then maybe we're having a group dinner, but you work an hour beforehand
Mhm.
and just molding that in. What do your hours look like? Or is it literally
God.
just like all over the place?
It's funny because my hours are my choice. I'll say that first.
Okay.
So I don't want to paint a picture of the work that's
Yeah.
not true, but like I'll be honest, like I work sometimes I'll start 9:30, 10 a.m. I kind of go there when I feel like I've had enough sleep and I roll into work. So that's great. But then sometimes I'll be honest, I'm there till midnight or like 10 p.m. is probably like my normal clock off time is like on a weekly basis is probably like 9 or 10 p.m., which I know people listening to this will be like, what the actual hell are you doing? Like that sounds like misery. But to me, it's like, I love my job so much. And I think if you're miserable doing that, then like maybe this is like controversial, but maybe the problem isn't in the working hours. It's in like the fact that you don't love your job. I don't think
Agreed.
working that much suits everyone, and I don't think it should be totally normalized. But like, I do think that I love my job so much that 5 o'clock rolls around, I'm like, I don't want to go home yet. I'm like obsessed with what I'm doing. I don't want to go home yet. So I think that that's to me more exciting, and I'm not miserable doing that. Like, I love it. It fulfills me, and I feel like I'm at a stage in my career right now where that is exactly what I want to be doing. So yes, my hours are crazy.
Are other people around you doing that as well?
Yeah, some people are for sure. Like I would say my workplace are the most obsessed people I've ever met, and they're just like so happy and obsessed with their work. And that is what's the most fulfilling about this workplace to me is that there's nothing I can hate more than working in a workplace where people don't care about what they're doing and you're the person that cares the most about the outcomes. Like I want to be around people who care because that's fulfilling to me.
Yeah, I think that's where the culture fit comes in because he's found you and really taken what you're so good at and what you love and then molded a role around that. So you enjoy what you're doing for someone else because a lot of business owners say you're never going to find someone who loves the business as much as you, and you're not. But because I feel like, and obviously I'm going off what you've said and what I've heard on his podcast and things like that, but it's like he has really hired people based off them and what they love and molded that. So then they can love their job and then be really good at it and be so invested.
Exactly.
And there's so many people out there that don't want to be a founder, but they want to be obsessed with a business as much as the owner is. And there are those people out there, but I think it comes down to the hiring process.
Totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So interesting.
So, moving to London, what was the reality of moving from Australia to London? How long did you have?
Oh God. So I sent the email, was in London within a few days. I did my 4 days there, came home. I got offered the job on the last day. So I think within like I want to say it was less than 2 weeks, but like a week and a half, I had sent the email and gotten the job. Super fast.
Yep.
Which I love
Yep.
because that's just the way they operate. They're just like, get it done. Why wait 5 weeks when you could just like make a decision in a week, you know?
And then you're 5 weeks ahead.
Yeah, exactly. So got the job, literally came back, quit my job straight away so that my notice period could start ticking as soon as possible. So resigned, worked my 4-week notice period, and then I was in London like the last day of like the day after my notice period, I'm pretty sure. Like so I want to say it was like less than 6 weeks.
Hey, and you have a partner.
Yes.
How did that go with the conversations and what that looked like?
Yeah. So I came. He's the best sport ever.
I love it.
I came home and I was like, so we're going to London. And he's like, what the hell, Zara? Like, what is wrong with you? And I also think there's a part of my boyfriend's the best, Lucas. Shout out. He's like not even on social media, so he'll be like cringing at that. But he's the best because he's helped me rewire my brain, like all those labels. Like even this morning coming to the podcast, I was like, oh, I haven't even read the questions yet. And he was like, one thing I know about you is that you're just gonna do
You
it
can talk.
and you can figure it out and you'll nail it anyways. And I was like, okay, that's so nice that I just go, oh, that's nice. But like he says that those little things to me all the time to validate like who I am. So like he has this belief in me that he's like, you're a weapon. I know that you're going to do big things kind of thing. So I think when I came back, he was like not overly surprised. Like he knows who he's with. He's like, yeah, of course. But yeah, he's way more secure and stable than I am. I'm like a lot more of risk averse, I would say. Like I'm more risky. He's more risk averse. So I think he was like, what the hell? But then he was like, you have to do it. Like this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. So he was like, yep, we'll make it work. So
Sounds like me and Jackson.
yeah. Oh, I love that. Is he your grounding?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
And I'm like, so I'm going to move to Melbourne.
Yes.
And I'm going to finish competing acro. Do you want to come? He's like, no, I've just built a business here. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, so how do we make this work?
But he's like, we'll
But you
make
do
it
it.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Sorry, I was going to say, so he decided to stay in Australia.
Yeah, so he's in Australia right now. I mean, hopefully he doesn't listen to this, but I'm trying to convince him. So he's coming for 3 months
Cool.
over summer, and I reckon that'll sell him.
I
So
agree.
we'll see what happens.
I agree. That is very exciting. So were you nervous and scared to leave your family and him behind? Or were you just so excited for this new chapter of your life?
I think this is like my flaw and this is a good thing and a bad thing about me. I'm really good at not thinking about the consequences of my actions.
Which sometimes you just have to.
Yeah, I'm really good about like even Lucas is like he thinks about all the practical things of like, okay, so where are you going to put your stuff? And like, are we going to sell our house? And I'm like, that stuff figures itself out, you know?
See,
And he's
I'm,
like, but-
I'm like Lucas
Yeah.
and my partner's like you.
Yeah.
He's like, but think about like, okay, we've got this stray cat and like this cat is now like living at our house. What do we do with the cat? Like he's just like thinks of all that.
And you're like, the cat will figure it
Yeah,
out.
the cat was stray one day. Like they're happy, they're fine. So yeah, so that's kind of how I think. So did I think about like being scared? No, but I think that often my consequences catch up with me later. Like it's not until like I'm on Christmas morning and I'm not with my family and friends. And I'm like, oh, that's the consequence you were talking about, where I miss home. But like up until that moment, up until it's like actually real, I don't really think about those things.
Yeah.
I think that's where a lot of people struggle to make change or take that big opportunity because they're thinking about all the what ifs. But it's like, I think you and I are very similar in that with myself moving to Melbourne last year. Yes, I was like, oh, this, that, and the other. But I was like, there is no way I'm passing this opportunity because I will get 12 months down the track and be like, why did I not take that?
Yeah.
And those quote unquote consequences you figure out when you get there.
Yeah.
And you make it work. And if you don't, there's another way. Like you figure it out. But people think about those way too soon. Think about the problem before it's even happened. Maybe that problem won't even come up. But you've already created it in your head.
There's this really great thing that Stephen speaks about, which is like, is it, and I think he's quoting this from someone else, so I'm not sure where it's come from, but is it a two-way door or is it a one-way door? Like, is this decision something that you can go walk through the door, go move to London and go, oh, I actually hate it here. I can just move home. Like I can walk back through that door at some stage and probably pick up the pieces, and maybe it'll take me a second, but I can ultimately get back to where I was before. Or is this a decision that is like you cannot come back from? And I think it's like you have to look at the decision you're making, moving to Melbourne, moving to London, whatever it is, and be like, is this a two-way door or is this a one-way door? And if it's a two-way door, like you can always.
And 9 times out of 10, it is a two-way door.
I agree.
Yeah.
And life isn't that deep. Like you
Yes.
just got to figure it out. That's what something I'm really leaning into lately is just like figuring it out along the way. Like we just build up these huge things in our mind so much and we over explain it to people and we have to go through every single pro and con. Like just do the thing, figure out along the way and just call it a day. Like
I'm a
stop
big
thinking.
believer in that. Yeah.
Yeah.
How has your life changed in like ways you couldn't have imagined?
Oh gosh. Oh my God. There's so many things I could talk about. So many things that I shouldn't talk about. I mean, my life has changed. I mean, there's good and bad. I'm
Yep.
living in a shoebox.
Yeah.
I've got a beautiful house in Ballarat and I'm living in a shoebox in London in the wet. So that's changed. But like,
There's that.
yeah, there's that part. But then there's also like the opportunities, the people I'm surrounded by. I think I've just like, in the last, I want to say 3 months, literally, my level has like lifted. I can just feel my bar has raised of like my expectations of myself and the world. And now it's funny because I look back on, I don't want to say workplaces, but like even, maybe previous friendships or like, whatever it was in my 3 month ago life, my previous life. And I'm like, wow, I could never go back to that because my bar is lifted so high in every sense. Like what I feel like I'm capable of achieving, the people I want to be surrounded by, the things I want to be learning, the level I want to be operating on. I think that that's really shifted for me. When you look back at your life, there's moments where you can feel yourself go up a level, and there's like a couple defining moments in that way. Like I feel like that's been it for me. So my perspective of myself has shifted massively.
Almost outgrowing your old environment.
Yeah.
Because you are becoming like a new person and you are learning all of these new things and being surrounded by people, and it's okay to outgrow those things. It doesn't mean that it was never good for you because it's all like everything in life serves a purpose, but it was there for that season and now you're entering a different season.
That's what it feels like. I love that. That's so well put.
And when you probably run as fast as we do through life, you notice that very frequently.
Mhm.
Whereas
Yeah,
back,
that's true.
months ago, years ago, it probably was happening a little bit slower. And now it's like every 3 months, you're like, oh my God, the bar is climbing.
It's funny though, because I think I've often noticed the bar lift in retrospect, but this is the first time that I'm in the thick of the bar lifting and I can feel it.
I love that.
Yeah.
What has surprised you the most about living in London?
I would say I would definitely say like the lifestyle work life thing. I would say my experience of London is possibly not everyone's experience of London just because of my workplace is maybe not typical. But I would say like my experience has been yeah, I love that blend between work and life, which I really have enjoyed. And I think that um people in London are, I think, more collaborative maybe than people in Australia. I think that Australia, I don't know, I find often that Australians hold their cards close to their chest.
Do you thoughts on tall poppy syndrome in Australia?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
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 I
Because
think
I was said that after I went to LA on my own. And I've been to LA a few times,
mm,
but it was just like everyone's willing to be collaborative. And like you said, UK is very much the same. Whereas Australia, I mean, we're very lucky in our environment, in our group, but you can see it's like people want success for themselves and that's it. Whereas overseas, I feel like it's very different.
oh, totally. And
Yeah.
LA's even on another level.
Yeah.
Like LA, you know what's the level up from LA is like San Francisco is like on another
Hey.
level. I went to San Francisco in December last year for work and I went there and these people are like willing to pitch themselves in the toilet to someone that they've just met. Do you know what I
I'm
mean? At the
obsessed.
urinal in the men's
Yeah.
toilets, they like will be like, "So, can I just catch you because I've got 5 minutes." They have no shame in like putting themselves forward and I'm just obsessed with that mentality. So I do think that in Australia, it's again goes back to tall poppy. It goes back to like that try hard thing. We want to appear like we're just like not, we don't care. We're just
Yeah, and that not
cruising through.
cool thing.
Yeah,
That's
what
what it
is
comes
with
down
that?
to.
We're not trying hard, but we're successful.
Yeah.
Well, you're trying hard. If you're successful.
But it's not reality because you can't
No.
be successful without trying.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
just not true.
Looks like we're booking some flights to San Francisco.
Yeah,
I know,
off
we
we
take the
go.
boys
Girls
and we're
trip.
going.
Yeah.
Little baby's coming along too.
Yeah.
If someone wants to change their life, where should they start?
I think going back to the start of the conversation, maybe go inward first and just like really think about like what's holding you back and why. I think like some of the most powerful work I've done on myself has been with my business coach or not even therapy because I haven't really done therapy, but I feel like I've done forms of it with like coaches and things like that and mentors where it's really unpacking like where does this come from in your childhood or like what are the beliefs about yourself that are like holding you back before you can actually do the big leap. So I think if you feel that way, I think it's going really far inward and becoming building this self-awareness around yourself like journaling, all of those things. Do you guys have coaches or like what has been that unlock for you?
I have a business mentor
Yeah.
and I don't talk to him much at all. It's almost when something comes up for me, I'm like, okay, yep. For example, I have a call this Friday, but I don't think I've spoken to him in a month. And it's very much like when I feel like I need something, he's there, he's ready. It's very much business strategy because I have had a business mindset coach before, but I don't think that has actually helped me at all. I think
Totally.
my environment helps my mindset more than anything. And then in terms of business strategy, that's when their mentor comes in. So I would
love
find
that.
but I think the biggest thing that has leveled me up in a way and the change my life is my partner and my environment. Like my partner has literally changed my life. And I think it's almost for you as well. Like it just goes to show how important your environment is if you want to change your life.
I love that. It's like proximity, isn't it? It's like who are
1000%.
you surrounded by?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think as you were saying that, I was thinking about therapy, and you said, you haven't necessarily had therapy, but I think everyone's form of therapy can be so different. And I think that's where people are like, therapy is a bit taboo and a bit boxed in because it's like, oh, I don't want to go to therapy. Like something's not wrong with me. It's like, no, it doesn't have to be wrong with you. Like you could have a business mentor and that be your therapy. You could have meditation and that be your therapy. Going to the gym is therapy. Like everyone has their different forms of it and you grow regardless. I've had psychologist, what have I been to? I've been to a kinesiologist. Like I've tried so many different things and every single person that I've seen has had some impact on my life. And again, environment and friends and all that. But for me, I think it's been leveraging different forms of therapy. And
Yes.
like actually being willing to try. Like I went to a kinesiologist, I went to get my cards read, I went to a psychologist. Like all these people have just impacted me in so many ways. And you always take something from someone. I feel.
Totally. And I think that it's like, it's really just about unpacking yourself. And I've had so many instances, even now in my life, where I'm like, I'm happy, I'm cruising, I don't need therapy or like a coach or whatever. But then this recent experience has given me evidence that like you really don't know what your limitations are sometimes. They are so buried and deep that you don't even know that they're there. So you think on the surface that you're like totally happy and nothing is holding you back, but we all have something. So there's always something to dig into and unpack and understand deeper about yourself. So for me, it's like whether it's a coach or whether it's a best friend or whether it's a partner, it's like who is the person that you can go to like really just dig into like the depths of your own mind. And I think, you think of male relationships that often sit so far on the surface. It's like I think female friendships in particular are really good at like
Oh, yeah.
getting into the depths of it all.
Our boys are good, but our girls are good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
we always say like to our boyfriends because they always go play golf together. Like, what did you speak about? Like,
Yeah.
anything? They're like, about golf. Like, we played golf. We spoke about golf. I'm like, we literally you're gone for 2 hours. Us girls, we've unpacked our trauma, what we did last week, our like future. We've mapped everything out within the 2 hours. And they're like, oh well, my golf was bad today.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. It could never be me.
So no,
Yeah.
And my partners, we always joke about, he's very neutral.
Mm.
And we slowly like dig things up, whether it's me or one of our good friends, Taylor's really good at like getting into him. But for a long time, like he buried a lot of things and he ended up seeing a psych and like so many things came up that he never even realized. But I was like, oh, I can see the edge of this kind of burning.
Yeah.
But it's just so interesting to see, females and males that have that kind
so
of
different, isn't it? Yes.
perspective.
So if you hadn't put yourself out there online, where do you think you'd be now?
Ooh, I think online. I think so much of what I have achieved. It's funny, I don't even think I understand how a presence online has impacted what I've done. I mean, before I got this job, I had 900 followers, and then I got this job and I have like
Wow.
20,000. It like blew up. So like I don't actually know how much my online presence has impacted me. I think what it's done more than anything has been rather than I think there has been opportunities that have come from being online, but I think really what it's done is help me like define my own message, my own way of thinking. Because when you have to put yourself online, there's so much personal growth that you're having by doing that without even the audience being there. It's like you have to sit there and film yourself and be succinct, so that helps your communication skills. You have to then have the courage to post it, which helps with your like courage and your bravery. So I think for me, the act of being online has been more impactful in a personal growth way than it has been in terms of like platform, which is really interesting. So where do I think I'd be? I think I would just not be as confident and as brave to take the jumps that I've taken.
I couldn't agree more. I think social media has changed my life in a way of how I perceive myself and how I show up and how confident I am and the connections, the community, and not necessarily opportunities at all, but the way that it shapes you.
Exactly.
To finish us out, I'm literally obsessed with this conversation, and I think when you're back in Australia, we need to do a part 2.
Can
And
we?
just like
I would love that.
I just love listening
Yes.
to you. But what would you say is like the biggest thing you've learned about yourself in the last 6 months?
I think that I have such a strong sense of myself and I've always been very like confident in that. But what I've realized over the last, similar to going back to what I was saying before, is like I didn't even realize the ceiling and the limitations I had on myself that were keeping me in a place. Like it's funny because I think sometimes people feel stuck. I didn't feel stuck, but I was stuck. And I wasn't even realizing that those things existed until I somehow accidentally shattered them. And I was like, oh, wow, I didn't even think that was possible for myself. So therefore, I didn't even bother trying. And now I'm like, what else is there that I can like dig at and like find out about myself? So it's made me realize that like there's always more to kind of learn and grow into, even when I'm feeling like totally content, totally fulfilled, and totally happy. It's like, what else is out there that I'm not even considering?
It's addictive.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of bad in a way because you can never, like the goalposts always are shifting.
Always.
Yeah.
No matter what you do.
Talk about it all
Like
the time.
I always say, because my partner's very much like that, and we'll hit a huge goal we've set for ourselves. The second we hit it, okay, here, I'm like, celebrate for like 3 minutes. That's
Yeah.
all I'm giving you.
I'm
It's like,
so
no,
bad at
next
that.
now, next now. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, next thing. Yep. All right.
And that's why I love the 1%ers because it's like, even now with our warehouse and stuff, it's like we all need to be celebrating those little
So
things
exciting.
because
Absolutely.
That's huge though. That is like a
Thing.
20%.
Yeah.
yeah. But
Yeah.
like once we're in, like we need to have a warehouse Slack of all our 1%ers so we can celebrate each
100%.
other.
I love
Yeah,
that.
and that was the biggest thing for us is like culture. Like we're bringing 2 different businesses into one workplace, but it's like we want a culture and
Yeah.
we want to have that environment because the online space can be so isolating.
Yeah.
Whether
so
you're
true.
influencer, business coach, fitness coach, whatever it is. Well, I'm obsessed with this
I'm
conversation.
obsessed with you
Same.
guys.
Obsessed
Can we
with
just sit
you.
here all day? I
I
love
know.
this.
It was amazing. Well, thank you so much for taking
Thank
time
you.
out of your busy schedule, coming down and talking to us. Where can people find you on socials if they want to follow along your
Ooh.
journey?
I'm on Instagram and TikTok, and I'm recently on Substack, which is really fun. And my handle is It's Zara Jarvis. Yeah,
Yeah, what
Substack.
is that?
Guys, you need to get on Substack.
Is this like where the
UK
UK is
thing?
ahead of Australia?
No, Substack is so good. It's like what social media used to be. It's like so yeah. It's
Okay,
really
we'll
great.
be downloading
I'll,
after
I'll
this.
talk to you about it
All right,
afterwards.
okay.
It's so good. So I'm there, and then I'm on LinkedIn as well.
Yep. And your username is
Zara Jarvis on
Yeah.
LinkedIn, or like if you
We'll
search
link
Zara
it in the
Jarvis,
show notes.
yeah,
Yeah,
perfect.
we
Cool.
Everyone
Love
go
it.
find you.
Beautiful. Well, again, thank you so much. And I hope and I know a lot of you would have taken so much value from this episode, and we'll be in your ears next week. Bye.
Bye.